Every Christmas, someone stands outside our house, not knocks, not rings the bell, just stands there. I learned this when I was 9 years old, the first year my father died. It started at exactly 12:17 a.m. That detail matters more than I wish it did. We were living in a quiet neighborhood, the kind with identical houses, soft yellow streetlights, and lawns that crunch under frost in December. Christmas Eve had been calm, too calm. Snow fell in slow, lazy sheets, the kind that makes the world feel muffled, like it's holding its breath. My mother had gone to bed early. Grief had aged her fast that year. I stayed up alone in the living room, the tree lights blinking red and gold, presents wrapped and waiting, the TV on mute. Then I felt it, that sensation you get when someone is watching you. I remember turning my head slowly toward the front window and seeing a figure standing on the sidewalk directly in front of our house. Not moving, not waving, just standing there, facing the door. I thought it was a neighbor at first, maybe someone drunk, maybe someone lost. But then I noticed something wrong. They weren't wearing a coat. Snow was falling hard, thick flakes clinging to everything, cars, trees, the porch railing. But the figure, the snow didn't touch them. It fell around them, like they were a hole in the world. I stood up and walked closer to the window. That's when the tree lights flickered, and the figure tilted its head, as if it knew I'd noticed. I didn't scream. I don't know why. Maybe shock, maybe fear freezing my lungs. I just stood there, staring. Then the porch light clicked on by itself. The figure didn't react. It didn't blink. It didn't breathe. After maybe 30 seconds, though it felt like hours, the porch light shut off again, and the figure was gone. No footsteps, no tracks in the snow, nothing. I didn't sleep that night. In the morning, I told my mother. She went pale, then angry. She said I was imagining things, said Christmas was stressful, said grief does things to kids. That night, she locked every door. At 12:17 a.m., the doorbell rang. Once, long, slow. She didn't answer, neither did I. The bell rang again, then nothing. In the morning, the snow outside the door was untouched. No footprints. That was the first year. The second year, we had a security camera installed. My mother said it was for peace of mind. At 12:16 a.m., the camera feed glitched. At 12:17 a.m., it froze completely. At 12:18 a.m., it resumed. The front of the house was empty. But when we rewound the footage, there was one frame, just one, where the figure stood inches from the camera. Its face filled the screen, smooth, pale, featureless, except for a mouth stretched too wide, like it had learned to smile from watching humans do it wrong. My mother deleted the footage. She cried afterward, quietly, like she didn't want the house to hear. By the third year, we stopped pretending it wasn't real. We stopped celebrating Christmas Eve. No music, no lights, no tree, just darkness. At 12:17 a.m., we would sit in the living room with the lights off, holding our breath. And every year, something changed. One year, the figure stood closer. Another year, it stood on the porch instead of the sidewalk. One year, it stood right in front of my bedroom window. That was the year I heard it whisper my name through the glass. Soft, patient, like it had all the time in the world. Open the door. I didn't. The next morning, my window was fogged from the outside. A handprint pressed against it. Not human. Too long. Too many joints. We tried leaving town once. Booked a motel 2 hours away. Packed up. Left before sunset on Christmas Eve. At 12:17 a.m., the motel fire alarm went off. Everyone evacuated into the snow. And across the parking lot, under a broken streetlight, it stood, waiting, facing us. My mother dropped to her knees. That was the night she finally told me the truth. My father hadn't died in an accident. He'd disappeared, Christmas Eve, years before I was born. At 12:17 a.m., the police found his car parked in front of our house, engine cold. Driver's door open, no footprints, no body, just one thing written on the frost-covered windshield. He let me in. My mother had moved into this house after marrying him. She didn't know the history, didn't know the neighbors whispered, didn't know people said the house wasn't empty, even when no one lived there. Every family that stayed long enough lost someone. Always Christmas Eve, always the same time, always someone who answered the door. The figure wasn't haunting the house. It was keeping an appointment. When I turned 18, my mother begged me to leave, said it was my turn next. I laughed it off, said I wasn't scared. That was a lie. I moved out anyway. Different city, different state. For the first time in my life, Christmas passed quietly. No figure, no whispers, no knocking. Until this year. I have a wife now, a son. We just bought our first house. Nice neighborhood, soft yellow streetlights, snow that crunches under your boots. Tonight is Christmas Eve. My wife is asleep upstairs. My son is waiting for Santa. It's 12:16 a.m. I'm standing in the living room, staring at the front window, because someone is standing outside our house, facing the door, not moving, not knocking, just standing there. The clock ticks. 12:17 a.m. The doorbell rings. Once, long, slow. And from behind me, in my son's voice, I hear, "Daddy, why is Santa standing backwards?" I don't turn around, because I can see the reflection in the window now. The figure isn't alone anymore, and one of them is smiling at me. The camera notification went off at 11:47 p.m. That's the first thing I remember clearly. Not the scream, not the face, just the soft ding from my phone while I was lying in bed, half asleep, scrolling through nothing. Christmas Eve, quiet house, heater clicking on and off, the smell of pine from the tree drifting down the hallway. The notification said, "Motion detected, front door." That wasn't unusual. Cars passed. Wind shook branches. Sometimes cats crossed the porch. I almost ignored it. Almost. But then it happened again. 11:48 p.m. 11:49 p.m. 3 alerts in under 2 minutes. I sighed, pulled the blanket tighter, and tapped the live feed. At first I didn't see anything wrong. The porch light cast that dull yellow cone onto the snow. Our welcome mat looked damp from melting ice. The wreath on the door swayed slightly, probably from the wind. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed the shadow. It wasn't a person, at least not clearly. It stretched across the porch floor like someone standing just outside the camera's frame. Too long, too thin. It didn't move when the wreath moved. I leaned closer to the screen. Probably a car, I muttered. I checked the timestamp. Live feed. No delay. The shadow shifted, not like something passing by, like something leaning in. My stomach tightened. I toggled night vision on and off. The shadow disappeared, then came back sharper, darker, hugging the bottom edge of the door. I waited for a knock. Nothing, no footsteps, no crunch of snow, just the heater humming behind me and my own breathing getting louder. Then the audio spiked. A faint static crackle came through the phone speaker. I thought it was interference, until it shaped itself into something else. Breathing, slow, shallow, close. I sat up in bed. The breathing wasn't synced with mine. I tapped the rewind button and watched the last 2 minutes. The shadow hadn't been there at first. It appeared suddenly, like it had stepped into existence rather than walked in. And the breathing. It started exactly when the shadow did. I told myself it was a glitch. Cheap camera. Cold weather messing with the sensor. I locked my phone and tried to sleep. The notification went off again. This time it wasn't motion. Sound detected. I unlocked my phone instantly. The live feed loaded. The shadow was gone. The porch was empty. I exhaled, annoyed at myself for panicking. Then a voice came through the speaker, very soft, almost swallowed by static. "Hello?" I froze. It sounded like a child, maybe 10, maybe younger. The voice trembled like they were trying not to cry. Is anyone home?" My heart started pounding. I grabbed a hoodie and stepped into the hallway, keeping my phone raised like it could protect me. The camera showed nothing. No movement, no shadow, no person. "Hello," the voice said again, louder now. It was coming from the camera. I whispered, "Who's there?" The audio cut. The porch light flickered once. Then the motion alert triggered again. Something stepped into frame. At first I thought it was just a person standing too close to the lens. The image warped, stretched, like the camera couldn't focus. Then the figure leaned back. It was tall, too tall for the porch. Its head nearly touched the top of the frame, but its legs didn't bend like a normal person's. It stood perfectly still, facing the door, facing me. I could make out clothes, a dark coat, something hanging from one sleeve, dripping, water. The camera audio picked up the sound of it hitting the wood. Drip, drip, drip. I was shaking now. I backed into the living room, my eyes never leaving the screen. "Dad?" I called quietly. "Mom?" No answer. They were asleep upstairs, or at least I thought they were. The figure tilted its head, slowly, like it was listening. The audio spiked again. "Please," the voice said. Same child's voice, same tremble. "Open the door." The figure raised one hand. Its fingers were too long, bent the wrong way. The nails scraped lightly against the door. Scratch, scratch. I almost dropped my phone. I can call someone," I said, my voice cracking. "The police. Just leave." The figure's head snapped toward the camera. The audio cut out completely. Then the porch light turned off. The feed went black for half a second. When it came back, the camera was still working. The porch was empty. The door was closed. No shadow, no figure, no sound. I stood there for a full minute, waiting for another alert. Nothing. I checked the front door from inside. Locked. Deadbolt engaged. No scratches. No wet footprints. Just the wreath, gently swaying. I told myself I imagined it. I went back to bed. I shouldn't have checked the footage the next morning, but I did. The recording showed everything. The shadow, the breathing, the voice, and something else. At 11:52 p.m., while I was still in bed, another figure appeared in the frame, behind the first one, smaller, barefoot, standing in the snow, looking directly into the camera. Its mouth moved silently for several seconds. I zoomed in. The lips formed words. "Why didn't you open?" At 11:53 p.m., the smaller figure turned toward the door. and vanished. The larger one remained. It stood there until 3:14 a.m., not moving, not breathing, just waiting. At 3:15, the camera tilted downward slightly, like someone touched it. I didn't sleep that night, neither did my parents, once I showed them. My dad checked the camera outside. No tampering, no damage, no footprints in the snow anywhere near the porch, except one, right in front of the door, bare, small, child-sized, pointing inward. We deleted the footage. We unplugged the camera. On Christmas morning, we tried to forget. By evening, the power went out for 30 seconds. When it came back on, my phone buzzed. New device detected. Front door camera. I never reconnected it. I opened the app anyway. The live feed showed the porch, the wreath, the door, and my reflection, standing outside, staring in, smiling. The audio crackled. In my own voice, it whispered, "You promised you'd open." The notification dinged again. Motion detected, from inside the house. And that's when I realized the camera wasn't watching the porch anymore. It was watching me.
If this story gave you chills, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And tell us in the comments which part scared you the most, and drop your ideas in the comments. Your idea might be our next nightmare.